So basically we're just going to add our email here. Let me copy the email from temp new. So I'll just scroll up and copy this, paste this, and let me just say Sam and get access. Now this now it has said suggest you have been added to the list, meaning that the email has been sent and has also been recorded inserted. The record has been inserted to the neon Postgres serverless Postgres database. So if we reload this, we should see it here. So Samuel and that's okay. And if we come down to our temp, we will see the latest. Okay, I think it's this. Okay, so this is Samuel. So if you just click on our dashboard, we should be going back to our home route. We're going to be starting this project by opening the command prompt. Just open command prompt and I'm going to change our directory to desktop, and from there we're going to create our next tab. No, our next tab at latest. So the name of our app will be, let me just call it nominal. Let me just say nominal neon. Okay, so let's install. For it to install, so I just see yes. So let's go and start the installation. Yes, use recommend the defaults. Yes, those agrees with it. So now it's installing our dependencies and dev dependencies. So while we wait, so after some time our installation will be completed. And let me just change our directory to the nominal neon. Okay, then let me just proceed to our VS Code. So upon entering our VS Code, let me just open the integrated terminal. Okay, what's this? Okay, so I'm now going to be installing the libraries we're going to be using for this project. Let's just start with npm install motion. Okay, we're also going to be needing React Toastify. We're also going to be needing our neon. So this neon database. So the neon database serverless. Okay, and we're going to also need to install Prisma adapter and also Prisma itself. So let's just say Prisma adapter for neon. Okay, and we're also going to be installing Prisma client. Okay, and also recent and also WebSockets, and also need to install React email for designing the email. Okay, React email components, and also we're going to need the React email for I didn't put the out here. So React email for Tailwind. So you can just put, let me also install some, let me see the types. So let me see types of our WebSockets, and also the types. I think that will be all for now. Okay, so let's just install these libraries. Okay, getting this error because I'm using PowerShell. So let me just create a CM. Cannot just git bash or cmd. So let me just come here. I'm just going to copy what we got here. Let's see. I can copy this. Let's just try pasting it. Since I'm not able to paste everything, so what I'll just do is retype those things. Okay. So new database serverless. We're also going to be installing the Prisma adapter. So let me just say Prisma adapter for new. So and our Prisma clients. I'm going to be installing recent React email component. Let me put out. Okay, and React email tailwind. So I think that is all. We also need, what else can we need? Okay, we need Prisma itself. Let me see. Let me not install it now. Let me just install the types. Type of WSockets. I think for now that should be all. Let's install this, see how it goes. So the libraries have been installed. Now let us just install Prisma separately. Okay, so npm install Prisma. Okay, let's just install this. Let me delete this. Let me just clear this. So now we've installed Prisma. So the next thing we're going to be doing is, let me just come here to start this project. And let me just create the M folder. And now M folder, I'm going to just add database URL. And this database URL will be coming from Neon. So let's come down to Chrome. So I've logged in. What I'm going to do is create a new project. Let me just choose as a, let me say nominal, let me call it new. So okay, let me just leave it as 17 and let's create. So I think it has been created. So the next one we're going to be doing is, I think we need to click on connect. So now we're going to get our connection string from here. Let me just copy this. Okay, and come back to this, paste it here. Okay, I think that's so this. Now we need to create, the file that will connect Neon to WebSocket. So let me just create a new folder here. Let me create file. Let me say lib.ts. So in our db.ts, we are going to be connecting our Neon to WebSocket. So let's just say Neon config. Now this Neon config will be coming from Neon database serverless, and let me just Neon config dot. Let me import it. Let me import all what we're going to be needing. Let me import all the libraries we're going to be needing. So let me say pool. We'll be needing pool, and also we'll be needing Neon config. Okay, and we'll also be needing Prisma Neon. Okay, and also we're going to be needing Prisma clients. Okay, so finally we're going to be needing our WebSockets. So WebSocket, let me just say WebSockets from WebSockets. So that is that. Now our new config. So we're going to connect it to our WebSocket constructor, and this will be connected to our WebSocket. Now let's create the connection. The connection string equals. Now we're going to just take our connection string from our env file. So we name it as database.url, database underscore URL name. Okay, and I made mistake. I won't put this. Sorry. So now we're going to now cons pull our new pull. Now it's pull from new database serverless. So I'm going to be taking our connection string, and also we need to create our adapter. So new Prisma neon and taking it from pool. Okay. Now I'm getting this type on. Okay. Once on this, let's do that for now. Let me just say any, and let's just const global for Prisma. Global for Prisma just equals. Now I'm going to be saying global as unknown. Let me see unknown. Okay. So as Prisma. So for Prisma, I'm going to take in our Prisma client. Okay. Now we can just see export const Prisma is equals global. Okay, for Prisma or the new Prisma client. Okay. Now this Prisma client will be taking our adapter, and since we are still in our dev environment, we just say if process dot env dot node env is not equals. So if it is not equals to production, then our global for Prisma dot Prisma should be equals Prisma. So that's what it should be exporting. Okay, so what we're now going to be creating now is, let me just create another file. I'll say Prisma schema. Okay, dot Prisma. Okay, now we're now going to say generator clients. Okay, so if we read a provider, and our provider is Prisma client. So data source DB. Okay, and our provider is PostgreSQL. Okay, so we're also going to be needing our URL. Our URL will be from our main folder as our database URL. So we just say database. Nowadays we can just install an extension. Let me just install Prisma. So we can be getting all this. Let me just say install this. Okay, I think this is what we need to install. Trust publisher. Let's continue. Okay, so let's now create our our schema. So the name of our schema will be waitlist. So model waitlist. Okay, and our ID, that's our column, will be string, type of string, and we're having an ID default. Okay, just a CUID, and we're going to be taking our email, and this, let's just say it's unique. The email should be unique and created at I just say date. Let me say date time. That is it. What else? Let us give our created out should be the time it was created. So it will be default now. I think there's default now. So let me just push this now. Let me just for this to be done, we need to sync this to the database, and let's say npx prisma db push. So we're waiting for it. I'm getting this file not found. Would not find print schema. Okay, I think the mistake I made was putting this. Let's see. Move. So nps prisma push. Okay. Now getting this provider is missing in data source. In data source block. Okay, where are we getting the error from? The data source. Not really. It's gonna be the error here. Here it is. Postgres. Possibly it will be the alignment. Okay, let me just realign this. Let's see. Let me see this. So this is PostgreSQL, not Progress. So and this. I think that should be all. Let's try it again. This means that this is no longer supported in Prisma version 7. So only if you want to use Prisma version 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to install the necessary ones. As Prisma config. So I'm going to install Prisma config and let me just put .env. Okay. Once we install it, as this one is installing, let me do this. So what I will now do is I need to now create a file. Now this file will be in the root directory and I'm going to call it prisma.config.ts. Okay, what I'm going to add now, I'm going to be adding, let me just, let's export, I'm going to be saying default define config. Okay, define config. Now this define config will be coming from our Prisma config. Let's see if it's auto import. No. Okay, so let's just auto import it. Let's say define config. Okay, define config from, I'm going to be taking it from past Prisma. Okay, so let's also bring f. So let me just do this, and I'm going to say schema. So I'm going to be taking our schema. I'm going to say Prisma to schema.prisma. And once this is done, we will now have to put our data source here, and our data source will contain the URL. And okay, and our here we take our database URL. Okay, now we can also import .env. So let me just say .env. /config. Okay, so now let's come down to our schema.prisma. Now we're not going to be needing this part again, so let's see. I think this, let me share this npx prisma generates npx prisma generates. Okay, an output part is required for the prisma client generator. Okay, I think it is the prisma client JS. So let's rerun this. We get the same error. Yeah, so okay, so we've generated it. Now we can push this. Okay, let's wait. Okay, so I think it has currently push it. So let's, okay, yeah, so it's done. Let's go back to Chrome. Think need to go back to tables. You should see waitlist. Okay, now we have our columns, our ID, our email, and our created at. Okay, so what we're going to do now is let's come down here. Let's come down to our tailwheel. Then come down to our tailwheel global.css. So I want to do some changes here. Let me see. I'm not adding any darkening, and this not okay. So what I will do now is I'm going to say color primary. So our color primary, let me remove this and change it to F97. Okay, let me say F97316. That will be kind of orange, and color primary dark. Let me say let me remove this first, and let's say EA5880C. Okay, so our font size, you can leave it as this though. Let us change it. Let me say enter. Let's make it enter. What else can we do? Let me also add sans serif. Okay, let me remove this, and let me also add color surface. Color surface. So our color surface, let me just give it, so it will be 1818 let me just 1B. Think that's that. And let me just see what else can I do here. So let me say animate float. Okay, give it a float of 6 seconds and it's in and out. Okay, let me just make it infinite. As for the animation, let's put our keyframes. Let me say float and 0%, 100%. So transform, let me get translate y of 0. Okay, You can also say 50%. So as 50%, you can give it a transform translates y, so it will be minus 20. We can just say minus 20 px. Okay. Okay. What else can I do? Let me just come here and do a little styling for the body, and let me just say background color. Give it a background color of hash 09090p. Give it a color of FA, fa. Okay, and a font family. The font family should be taken from. Okay, so this. Okay, let us override toastify in dark mode. So let us say dot toastify. Okay, toast theme. Okay, dark. So in dark mode, I'm just going to say background. Okay, background. Give it a value, and let me just see color surface from what I've done. Color surface, and our border should be like 1px solid, and give it an RGB. Okay, so our RGB will be 255. Let's just make it 255 for this, 255 for this also, and 0.1 for alpha. Okay, so let's give it a color of HFF, that is white, and let's make it important. Let's also make this important. So for the toastify, for the progress bar, I'm going to just progress bar for sources. What can we do here? We can just give it a background of color primary. Let me say color primary. Okay, so think with this, let's just run this and see how we get before going to our server logic. Okay, so let's come down to Chrome. Let me say localhost. Okay, so we got this. As this one still getting this is simply because we still have content. We haven't changed any content yet in our home. So before doing that, before going to our home directory that is here, our home route, to do anything, let me just create our server logic. So what we're going to do is, let me just create, and let me say action folder. So I'll say action index.ts. Okay, let me rename it to actions. I think we're not going to need much actions. Let me just make it actions.ts without putting in there.ts. Okay, I can just leave it anyhow. Let's just leave it as that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, let me see, export. Now since we're going to be sending, getting the email and sending it through resend. So what we're going to do, we're going to actually be needing resend. So we need to create like enter resend. Let's go to resend. What the hell? I mean, this appearance. I need to change the appearance and settings. Is that mode actually? Oh yeah. How is huh? Okay. So let me try to log in. So let me log in with Google. Okay, so I've logged in to my account. So okay, what I'll just come back here. So what I'll do is let me first import the library. First we need to use put use server. Okay. Let me just import the library we're going to be using. So we're going to be using Prisma. Okay. Prisma client. Now since we don't need to get this, so we're just going to say let me import it our Prisma from our library directory db. Okay. Prisma is declared but its value never read. Serious? Supposed to be coming from here. Let's go back. So what I will just do is I'm importing the this is supposed to be okay. So import, so I'm going to be importing resend because we also install resend and install this, yes. So import. Now we're going to create a welcome email that is component. So import welcome email. I might not even need it now. Let me not, let's wait till then. So const resend. Now we're going to be taking, we need our resend API key. So process.env. So we have not yet created that, but we'll soon create it. So resend API key. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is go back to Chrome and let's go back to API keys. I already have many API keys. Crazy. Let me just create an API key. Name it nominal new. So add. So yeah, I'll just copy this API key and come down to our env file and say resend API key. So I think this. Okay. Now let me close this. So what we're going to do now is let's now create our action. Sorry. Export async function. So I'm going to say join join waitlist. So we're going to be taking the email from the form data. So let's just say pref state. All this will be coming from our home page. So let's say form data. Our form data should be taking a type of form data, and now we're going to need to get our email. So form data dot get. So that means you have to put the name attribute of email in our HTML. Okay, so let's give it a type of string. Okay, since if just to check if there is no email, or if email does not include let me just put at Okay, so if it does not include that, we are going to simply return a message, and the message will be, please enter a valid email. Okay, so we can just leave it as this, or we can just add one more and say status of error. Okay, so now let's create a trial hash block. Okay, so let's come here, say await Prisma. So await Prisma dot waitlist. Now this waitlist is coming from our schema. Okay, so let me come down to Chrome, see how it looks like. Waitlist. Waitlist. Okay, so dot create. So I will be creating data and email. Okay, does not exist on type. Okay, that's because of this. Let me put it as any this error. Really does not exist on type on Prisma. Okay, let me say, let us continue and wait to send your emails. Okay, dot send. So later on we'll come back to it like very soon. Let me just say luminal. Okay, luminal, and it's going to be, I'm going to be sending the email from, since we don't have any working email address, I'll just say onboarding at resend.dev. Okay, so just that, and now is it to email, and also I want to take our subject. Our subject will be welcome. So no. Okay, now our reactor are going to be putting our welcome email component. So now we need to now create our welcome email component. What I'm going to do is, let me say, okay, components welcome email. Okay, so welcome email.ts. So for this, let's just say export default function. So I'm going to say welcome email. Okay, so I'm going to say welcome email, and we're going to just take the user email. This user email, give it a type. So the type will surely be a string. Okay, now we're now going to say HTML. Now this HTML will be coming from React email components. So let me say import. Let me start with body. Okay, okay, HTML. Okay, I was expecting it to automatically give a closing tag, or let's just import this. Okay, it's not auto importing, and we have to just import it manually. Also going to be needing button, container. I'm also going to be needing the head and preview. I'm also going to be needing the section with the text and tailwind. Okay, so basically confirm. I'm not having any okay, I haven't import the HTML. Okay, is it already? Okay, so let's just continue for the head. Now the head, and we'll take preview. We'll say welcome to terminal. This, so preview, also to tailwind, and this is not automatically bringing a closing tag. Okay, since we need to rename this CXS, okay. Oh, okay, so we need to simply rename this to avoid this error. So I think that's clear. For our welcome new.css, now let's just say since I've put our preview, since we've added our preview tag, so let's just add the tailwind. Okay, now in our tailwind tag, that way we're going to put our body, and also going to put the container, and in our container we're going to put the section. Okay, and also the text. Now this text, we want it to be luminal. Let me just say luminal, and I'm still going to add some styling though, so let me just test. So this test, let me just say you are on the waiting list. So yeah, we can just add the user email, or if possible the username. That's if we added it to the schema, the Prisma schema. So button, that will be the next. So now in our button we can just say dashboard. Now this button can take a prop, which is the href. Now this href can be, can just give it the link to the home page. Okay, so let me just do some styling. So the styling, let's start with the body. So body, we're going to give it a class name of background black, and it says text should be white, and make the font size. Okay, why for the container, you can just give it a simple styling of my margin top and bottom of 10, mx auto, okay, and padding all around of 5, and you can give our section styling also class name and say background zinc, give our background zinc of 900 and padding of 8. Let's make it rounded XL. Okay, you can just say my margin bottom of 4. Instead of putting this, let me just say border, and the border should be zinc 400, or can just make it 800. Okay, so for our test, let us give it in some styling. I just say test of orange. Let's give it like 500 and make the font bold. Okay, make the font bold and make it the text SL. That's that. Margin bottom of 4. And I think you can just give this one a simple styling of test white. Okay, I think that's the okay. So you can just come down here and import our welcome email. So when we import our welcome email, we can just pass the user email prop. Now this user email prop will be the email. So basically, I'm just going to say user email. Saying that. Okay. Let me just say return message. The message will be success. You have been added. Okay. You have been added to the list. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting this error. Let me see what's going on. Yeah, we got this. Just catch our error. If there is error, let's give it a type of any. And if error code, if the error code is P202, then okay. So I'm going to just return message, and I'm going to say this email is already on the list. Okay, and you can just come here, else just return, because for sure there's an error actually going to happen. So just return, this is something went wrong. Okay, okay. Now let's come down here. Let's see if we can. Let me. I'm getting. Let me review this. Okay. There's no need for that. Let me just go to the Prisma doc. So I think this is it. Seems it's taking time to reload. Maybe it's internet problem or maybe it's from Neon. But let's just maybe we can get something important here. So I think let's see. So from these docs here, we can work on the edge, enable querying over fetch. Is that okay? You can just copy this. Paste it here. So global.prisma. Let's just this. Okay. Okay. So we got this. Save this. Prisma. So okay. Basically, as we exported, do you mean import Prisma from? Let's go back here. Supposed to be spoiling it. I'm supposed to be importing it. Yes, let me see. The auto import is not really working. Let me come here. Import Prisma. Okay. Still getting the same error. So waitlist dot create. Okay. So let's just copy this and those remove this. Okay. So now we've gotten this. The expected type comes from property react which is declared here on type create email options. Okay. Yeah, so since we're getting this error, what we're going to simply do is come down here. Just say we didn't put return, so maybe that's the problem. Let's bring this up and remove this. So I think the error is gone. Yes. So the next thing we're going to do now is let's just create our hero section. That is the section that is going to be the hero section that will be in our home route. Hero section dot css. So export default function. So what we're going to now do is we're going to this will be a use client component. It will be a use client component. Okay. We're going to be needing a state, form action is pending, and all this will be coming from use action state. This use action state is from React. So use action state, and we're just going to go join waitlist. Okay, that is our action, server action, and let's just put initial state. Now we need to uh, instantiate this this initial state. I mean, so I'm going to say equals message. So let us do this, and I think sometimes we also tried our status here. Let me see. Yes, status. So let me just say status. So just leave it as that, and now we are now going to let me yes, okay. I'm going to bring our use effects. Our use effects be taking a callback. Okay, we need to put our dependency array here. So I'm going to say state dot let me say message. That's our initial state message. Okay, if the state message, if there's message from the state, then we're going to say if state dot status so equals success. Okay, so if that's the case, then we're going to just say toast dot success. So state, so I'm going to just show the message. Now this toast will be coming from React Toastify, and what we need to do is come down to our layout. Okay, and we just need to say Toastify. Think is this. So come back here. Okay, so I'm just going to import toast. So think that's that. Now you can then proceed by saying else if the state the status if the state of status is info, or let me put this, let me say let me give status for let me give status for this. Let's see first status no. So I'm going to just say success, and for this we're just going to say status info, and for this let's just say status error. Else if state of status equals info, then we're going to just also say toast dot info. So state, so we're going to put the message else I'm going to say toast dot error state dot message. Okay, so as if there's state message, and if it is success, show the state of message. If state dot status is info, show the state dot message. Okay, so we need to add states, and now let's just create our JSS. So just a div, our div tag. So I'm going to be taking another div and take an h1. So before that, let's just do some styling, quick styling. Let's do flex code, and I'm going to just say item center and give it a pt of 32, px of 6. Let's give it a test center and z index of 10. So here we're going to simply we can actually add animation to this. But for this h1, let me just type, let me say Lumina Neon. That is the name of our project. So Lumina Neon. So we can just, let me just span this so I can style the neon. Okay, so for this I'll just say class name test primary. Okay, so let's just give the overall styling for this one and say text, make it 7XL, and our medium size it should be text 8XL, font bold, I mean. Okay, let's make it a text of white, and what can we do? Also just say margin bottom of 6, and tracking, let's give it a tracking of tight. Okay, so yeah, let me just add animation. So yeah, we're going to have to import animation motion from motion library. So let me just say import motion from motion. Don't think I'm going to be getting motion here. Okay, since we're not getting it here. Okay, yes. So that's that. So yeah, we're not going to be adding some properties. So let's just say initial. So our initially should be opacity of 0, and also the scale should be 0.9. Okay, that is not full scale. And also we can just say animate, because that's the main reason why we're adding this. Opacity of let's make it 1, and let's scale it back to 1, and then transition. So our transition, let me see, our transition duration of 0.8. Okay, so let me just save this. See, now we can just come down to our p tag. So this will be like the description. So I'm going to say, I'll just say the, okay, so the ultimate stack, and I'm just going to say next, let me say next, let me give it JS16. Let's just say Next.js 16, let me just say Prisma 7. Okay, just say Prisma version 7. Okay, so let's just give it styling of, let's say text, let's say text zinc, and let's say 400, and let me just give it a margin bottom of 10, maximum width of large, that is mx auto, so to make it center. And let's view what we have been doing so far in our page.css. That is our home route. So let's just see what we got here. Let me promote this. Let me remove this. So here I will just say hero section, and let me see, let me just give this class name. Let me say main minimum ice cream. So everything should be inside an high screen height. Like the screen should have an height of screen. So that means there will not be scrolling and many scrolling bar. So minimum high screen, relative overflow. So overflow should be hidden, and flex scroll, and also you can just make it item. Also everything should be centered. So item center. So now we can just add like a background glue. Just like a background glue. So let me add this. Okay, so let me just try this. So it will be absolute top. So the top, let's give 0, and the left should be half, and translate half, makes half as horizontal, and width of 600 pixels. Okay, so our height, let's see, our height should be 600 pixels. Getting this can be written as 150. Okay, let us write it as 150 since they said since since they gave us that hint. So 150, let's just say background primary. So our background primary is also about 20, and give it a below of for this below, let's make it 120 pixels. Okay, so rounded full, and this. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Reload this. Okay, I haven't run it. npm run there. So let's open it. Reload this. You are getting an error, can't resolve WebSocket. So how am I getting this? Okay, so let's come down here. Okay, I haven't imported it. Okay, I've imported it. Is it? Let me see. Use SAAS. This is showing the same. Can't resolve WS. I actually installed it. Can I just remove this? Okay, so we're getting this luminal neon. That's okay. Let me put this back. Was I think this WebSocket is actually needed. Well, let's see. So we are getting this. Let me reduce this. We can just okay. So this is so large. Okay. Let me do this. Now let's come down to our arrow section. Or still on our arrow section. Now we need to create our form tag. Inside where the user will put the email. So let's just say input. It's going to take an input tag of email. So the type should be email. The name, that is the name that we're going to use, the form that we use should be email. Okay, so placeholder. So the placeholder, let's just give it like let me just say name, but let me just say name 123 at sample. Let's say sample.com. Okay, and it must be required. That is just HTML validation. So class name padding of 4, rounded to be Excel, and background, let's say our background should be white of 5, and what else, give it a border, and a border white, then and give it a test of white. Nope. Test of white. Do we need shadow? No. Let me just say focus to border primary and focus. When on focus outline, let's give it none. So let us put transition all, and our placeholder should be kind of test zinc, and let's just give it 600. Okay, so let's style our form. So I'm going to say class name, and our class name will be width full and max width of MD. Okay, so let's do flex code and give it a gap of 4. Okay, so getting this. Okay, smooth. Okay, so let's just put our button, and for our button you can just in this situation I'm going to say use is pending, and if it's pending then the text should be syncing. Okay, else, that is, if it's not pending, you just do the get access test. Now let us just quickly style this. So we are going to say padding of 4, rounded. So let us give it a rounded of Excel, and background primary. What else can we do? Let us give it a test white and font bold. So shadow, let's make the shadow LG. Shadow should be LG. What else? So we can just say shadow primary. So we can just say over 25, and when we over it, we should get background primary should be dark. Okay, so let's just say if it is disabled, then opacity should be, let me say 50. So let me now give it a cursor pointer. So get that, let's see. Okay, so we can even give it an animation for motion. So we'll just say, let me use motion. So now we need to put those properties. Let's say while hovering, okay, we need it to scale 1.02, okay, and while it is being tabbed, okay, we need it to scale to like 0.98, and what else do we put there? I think let's just leave it as that. So now we can just say, in case if it is pending, then it should be disabled. So it's pending. So when we over it, the scale increased to 1.02, and if we tap it, it should go to 0.9. You can say, okay. So that's that. Now think we set for that. Now let me just come down to our index.js, and I want to okay. First, I want to do something. Let's come down to our error section. So if, let's take for example, we have, so if, let's say, now we're not done yet. For this form action, we must use it. So the form action will be in our form. So let's come down to form. So our form action will be here. So that's that. Okay, let me see. Think reset. Let me just test. Let me just do testing. Get access. Okay. A use server can only export async function found object. Okay. I'm getting an error from this Prisma. Coming down to this. So we now need to come down here. Let's make it. Let's just say export cons Prisma. Okay. So let me do it again. Get access syncing. Okay. Use server file can only export. Am I still getting error here? I'm not supposed to get an error. Let me see. Invalid source map. So I'm waiting for this to load so we can test it out. Okay, let's just copy this. So we should be seeing the email here if we send it. So once we send it, let's just delete this and let me get access. Something went wrong. Something went wrong. What's gonna have gone wrong? Okay, let's see. Let me try to console.log the email. And I think it's taking it. It's logging it to the console here. Okay. Let's see if it's eating this. Something went wrong again. So let me come down to recent and see if I can even track the logs. No logs here. No logs here. That means let me try this. Okay. Something went wrong. So there's kind of like an error somewhere. Let's do something. So what I'll do is instead of this I'll just say body. I want to just test out something. No, no. HTML. No. Okay, so let's just say hello and let's see how it goes. What I'll do is this. So I want to see if the send is working. I think it's sent. Okay. You can only send testimony email to your own email address. So let's come down here. That means it didn't send anything here. So you can only send testing email to my own personal email address. That's why I didn't send. Okay. As when we're using a working email address, it's gonna have gone. So let's just send it as that. So basically, if let's see, so that means this line was actually working. Because once the email is inserted, let me try it. Let me see. Let's clear this. So if insert email, then send this. So let me put my personal email. Success, you have been added to the list. So yeah, I think it went. Error node. So if I should go to my email, I should see. Let me go to email. Okay. So I can see Lumina here. Okay. So it actually sends. Let me see. Let me just view how it looks like. Oh, I don't want it to be in this form. So basically, what I will simply do is, let me say, I will bring back the welcome email and let me just welcome email, not this React. So welcome email, user email. So our user email choose the email as, so you can just say React, the React element. So let's try it again at gmail.com. Something went wrong. That is because it has already been inserted here. So basically, I'll try the obsert method. Now that we've got noticed that our error is coming from the fact that number one, there's problem with our React and with our welcome email. That is the component, welcome email component. And also I've also figured out that we need to basically create a working email, that is a working email address. We need to verify our domain so we can use the working email address. I've been able to create and a working email address. So basically, let's just see what we can do with these React attributes. So I'm just going to uncomment this and remove this. Now we need to go back to our welcome email component and do some changes. Export. Okay, export. Let's just change this to export const welcome email, and I'm now going to say React. So give the type. Nice. No, read only. Okay, so and this read only will kind of take the, let me say, welcome email props. Okay, or prop since there's only one, and let me see, So now we can say equals this, and we need to remove. Okay. Okay. So we need to remove this, and let me see what we can also do here. Let me just put the name. So here I'm going to simply say email, or let me use the user email, and I'm going to then do this. So now we need to put, let me see, let's remove this. Okay, so we need to put our welcome email prop. So I'm going to just say type of welcome email prop. So since we're having user email and our user email is a string, so I think that's that. So coming back here, okay. So this will be an object here. I think that's status that. So basically, I've been able to create, as I've said earlier, I've been able to create a working email address using this domain. So I use the verified domain. So what I will now do now is I'll just simply come in. Let me just first I must change this. Okay. So low url.in. Okay. And now if I try to send to any email, let me just come here, come down here and copy. Then I'll just paste this, get access. So now I've been able to send this email. So if you come down to this temp mail, so we should see this. So let's just, you can see the design here. Let me enlarge this maybe because, so you can see this. You can even go and do just come down to our db.ts, no, our schema. So and add, let me just say new. So you can just say string. That means we need to say npx prisma db push, because I want to use the name instead of email. So it's loading that. Okay, so I think while that is going on, let's come down to our arrow section and add. Okay, we found changes that cannot be executed, added the without the default value. Okay, so since what I'll just do is I'll favor generate npx prisma, so generate. Let me clear this. Okay, then let me npx prisma db push. Okay, we're waiting for it to load up. Okay, it's showing the same error. That means there's error here, possibly because we didn't make this optional. So let's just clear this, and okay, and let's just try it again. nps prisma db push. Or you see the changes here. Okay, we're waiting for it to load up. I think it's in sync now. So basically we can just, instead of this, we can now, let me come down here, let me just copy this, return this back to email, and what I will do is, so I'm going to take test, and the name will be name. Okay, John Doe. I think that is that. And I'll need to come down here and also add it to, let me see. Okay. So now we need to come down here and get our name. So once name equals form data dot get name as string also. So now let me just say no name. So please fill in details. Okay, so I'll just simply let me just come here, say name, and here I'm going to create name. Let me just put it as that. I don't need this. Okay, so what else? I think that's that. So now we can just, instead of sending user email, we can just send username. So it will be name. So now we need to come down to our welcome email component and change this to username. So this will be username. Okay, let me see what I'm getting here. Username. So I need to come here and change this to username. I think that's that. So let's come back and test it again. So I'm going to resend. Okay, let me run this. So clear our terminal and reload. Okay, so we have this. Now let me just say, let me copy the email again. So come down to our temp mail and copy, then paste this. And now I don't do, what we're going to do is, let me just say done do. So I'll just click get access and see what will happen. Okay, it has updated and it has sent our email. So success. Now what we're going to do is come down to our temp mail. Let me refresh. Getting this error. Try verifying this shit. Okay, so we're waiting for this inbox to load up. So yeah, I think this is the latest one. So is this the latest one? I don't think so. Let me expand this. Back to list. Seems like, okay, so I think the latest one was the one below. So this is it. So John Doe. So it's updated. Now let's just, you can simply see those, see, you can add an href or a link here. So for this button here, so you can just add a link that will take us back to the home page. That is this page. So you can just come here. Let me just say, okay, come to our .env and let me say next public base URL. So this our next public base URL will be this. Okay, so if let's go back here, you see. Okay, so let's just come back to welcome email, and here I'll just put process.f dot next public base URL. Okay, so if I should come down to the email, let me resend the email. Let me just say, let me copy the email, copy, paste this, and relax. Let me just put relax as the get access. I want to also see the changes here. Let me see. So it has inserted and it has sent. So let's go back to our neon and see what we're having. So let's just reload, refresh here. Okay, let me refresh. Well, I was expecting to see name here. Okay, name it didn't insert here. Okay, coming back to that. So let's see what we got here. Back to list. Still taking time. So like this, relax, dashboard. So this is redirecting us back to where we want it to go. So basically now having an error of it not inserting. Okay, so let's come back to our index.ts and let me see, create name. Okay, so email. Think so if we try it again. So let's try it again. Okay, so let's just say hello and get access. Okay, success, and now let's just refresh this and see. Okay, so it has been updated. So we have do. That means if you come here, you can even say instead of username, instead of just using the name directly from here, from our variable, you can just say insert email, insert email dot name. Okay, so that will settle it. Now I can just try it on. Let me just, instead of using this temp mail, let me just use my email. So let me just put Sam. Okay, let me say Samuel and get access. So I think it has sent. So I will see it here. I'm getting an error somewhere. Unable to fetch data. Okay, it just is because of this. So let me just use as name. I think let me change it. And what I will do is to confirm. So I'll just say insert email dot name. So let's try it again. Let me click terminal. Then this. So now let me just say some. Let me just put ordinary Sam and get access. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so it has gone successfully now. Okay, same as if there was internet error. So basically if you come down here, you see this. So getting this then, so if we click on our dashboard, we should go back to our home route. So basically this is done, and if we come here, we should see some here in the name. Let's just refresh this. So Sam, I think that's that. Now we can just see, let me just give it metadata. Let me see, export const metadata. Okay. So we're going to be importing this metadata from, let's see, I think yes, let me see here. So let me just do this. You don't need it. Okay. So let me just say title. Let's give it title of waiting list. Okay. So we can just give it the title of that, and also you might just put the description if you want to put it. Let me just say, let me say leave. Okay. Nominal neon motion soon. Okay, so I think we will see the change here. So that's it, and I think that's that. Now let me just clear this. Let me just come to our github. Now github, I'm going to create a repo. Okay, so what I'll just do is let's just name it nominal. So public, make it public. Okay, no git signal. Okay, and readme. Just create this. So now you can just use this command and follow this command. Now let me just come down here first. Okay. I'm seeing some things here, but I won't need to. Okay. So what I'll just do is clear terminal, stop this, and I'll just copy this. Copy. Okay, I actually want to paste into the paste. Okay, so I think if we reload this, you see something. You haven't pushed it yet. So before I even push it, let me add everything. Let me add all this and say git commit. Okay, I want to remove this. Okay, git commit message. Let me say first commit. We haven't committed one anyhow, so we can now push. It's already in the main. We are getting this. Just okay. So now if you reload this, first we shouldn't see .env here at all. Okay. So I'm getting our stuff ready. So the next thing now is to, let's say we can just come to Vercel to deploy it. Okay, so what I'll just do is login. So I'll just have to create a new deployment from this. Okay, yeah. As long as I've actually logged into it. So take action to secure a project of this project. Let me just add new projects. So I'm going to come down to, okay, let's just import this. Okay, and what else can we do? We need to add our environment variables. So I think we have three. So what I'll just do is come down to our .env file. Okay, so we have database URL. So we'll just copy this, and you also have get this the value. Copy this value. Okay, and I don't think we need to put this quote. I'm not sure though, but I don't think we need to put it. Okay, so let's come down to this resend API key. So let's just copy this. Here's this. So for this, I think we need to deploy it first before. Let me see if I can get the URL somewhere around here. I'm not sure if I can get the URL here. No. Okay, so okay. So what I'll just do is for now, let me just remove this. So when I've deployed it, I will add that and redeploy it. So for sure we're expecting error. Okay. Installing dependencies. This usually take time. I think I'm listing an error. Import Prisma clients. Okay. Inspect deployments. I want to see this error. So I'm getting it from here. Yield worker edited. Prisma clients. Sure. What is this? Think, let me copy and paste this error. Let me see if I can get on it. Problem pulled up. This. Okay, so the error might going went away. I need to generate. Okay. Okay. So I think we need to generate this Prisma clients. So let me see. That is in index.ts. Okay? This should be index.ts. So let's see what we got here. Nope. db.ts. Okay, so we got this. Yes, good. Let's come down to our package.this.json. Okay. So in our next build, I'm going to put, let me say, we'll put Prisma. So Prisma generate, and so you can just put next build or just leave it as build. Let me just say next build. Okay, let's see how it goes. So I'm going to take it to GitHub again. Git commit update. Okay, let's just push this. So now let me just reload to see if we have pushed it. Okay, so now we need to redeploy. Let me just go back to deployment. Go back to this. So it's building. Let's see how it goes. Let's save it. Okay. Hopefully it should work. I think deployment has been completed. You know what I'm saying here? Deployment checks. Okay. So I think deployment has been completed. So basically, let's just come back. So since it's showing this green, so it's deployed. What we're going to simply do is we're going to go to our deployment. And we're going to add one more. And that is, go to settings. Let's settings for this. Settings and the environment variable, and also come down here. So we're going to be adding an env. Nice. Let's come down to our env file. So our next public base URL. Now even up to now I don't still know. Let me just do this. I don't still know. Let's come down here. I don't still know our link. So I think this is it. No, this is it. Actually the two of them are the same thing. So if we okay. So this is, let me just copy this and let's come down here. Is this. So we're going to save it. So let me just save. So you see it here. Okay. So we need to redeploy. So after redeploying, we're going to test everything to confirm everything is working. So video deployment is building. We're going deployment. Installing dependencies. Okay, so it has been deployed successfully. So if we go down here, our waiting list. So now let's just try. Where's our temp mail? I think I mistakenly deleted that. So I think we should go see the link somewhere here. Let me click. Okay, it's not like this is. So what I'll just do is temp mail. So I'm going to be testing it with that. Let me just, for the meantime, get access. That is HTML verification. And let me just say your claims. Okay, so let me reload this. Wait for it to load up. Okay, we got this. So since we have job claims here, so let me just copy this, paste our email, and get access. So we have this sources have been added to the list. Now if you come down here, okay, think is the last one. It hasn't been updated. Let's refresh. Still loading. So that's been updated. Joclyn. So our project is done. If we come down to Neon, we will see Joclyn's added. Let me just refresh. So Joclyn is updated. So that's